we climbed Mount Cook, got to the top, and frankly there wasn't much joy in reaching the summit because we knew that we had a really tough trip down. And we headed on down, and as we were descending we decided it was just too dangerous to keep going. It was a suicide mission out in the Linda Glacier with avalanches coming down and very soft snow conditions and just a terrible, terrible storm you couldn't see. So we decided we'd stop for the night. We dug ourselves a small pit in front of a very large crevasse which we thought would protect us from anything that came down. We were worried about avalanche and we'd thought ahead about it. So we're just settling down for the night. I'd lain down. Kat, as it turns out, was standing up sorting out some clothing, and we heard that noise from above that you never want to hear, an avalanche. And I just said, oh no, and I made to try and move, but before I could even move, within seconds, the snow was just it poured right across the massive crevasse above us and was pouring down into the little area that we were sleeping in. And there was just nothing I could do, you know, absolutely nothing. Poured down and I was trapped. I tried to do the classic thing of, you know, hand over the mouth to protect your airway. Didn't matter a bit. The snow just came right in. And I was completely trapped. You literally can't move a finger in that kind of an avalanche situation. And I didn't know where Kat was. I thought she was lying down beside me, and I knew if she was lying down, we were both, it was curtains for both of us. And so I called out to her, couldn't hear a thing. And I'll be honest, I was on my last breath when I heard a small noise, just as honestly as blackness was kind of coming into my head. And it was her saying, you know, where are you, where's your face? And at that point her hand came and scraped the snow away from my mouth. She'd managed to dig through with her bare hands to where I was. And I took this huge deep breath of air, I tell you, best breath I've ever had. And you know, she saved my life. It's that simple. We dug ourselves out, tried to sort ourselves out. I was in pretty terrible shock actually. Kat managed that as well. And then we actually went and slept nearby in another crevasse for the night. You can imagine how excited I was about being in a crevasse after that, but it was actually the right call. I don't like giving up on things. You know, sometimes facing your fears is what it's about. As much as completing a great mission, it's actually going back. And the second time I got a different team together. Kat wasn't available. She was very keen actually to complete it, but she was sailing overseas. So I got another team together, and we did it a little differently, where there were sort of specialists for different sections and that I'd do the whole thing. And that team turned out to be just brilliant. And we had some very tough calls to make along the way. So we started off by climbing Mount Cook, and I did that with Bridget Jantz. Incredible outdoor adventurer in her own right. She had food poisoning the day we were climbing Cook. I didn't even know, I just thought she was nervous. And I thought she may well need to turn around and go down, but she's totally staunch. She kept going, and we kept checking in with each other. I really wanted to make sure we weren't taking risks that would put her at risk or me. And we got as high as the summit rocks of Mount Cook, which is within 200 metres of the top. We'd been incredibly slow, and the conditions were terrible. They were actually too warm, ironically. We had too cold and now too warm. So we got to the top of the summit rocks, and with also some other guided parties there. And they said to us, look, you'd be really unwise to keep going because the avalanche conditions are now very terrible. The heat of the day warms things up and it slides off. So it was tough sitting there knowing that you could see the top, but it was the right thing to turn around. So I said, okay, yep, we'll turn around. And oh man, it was tough. But you know, there's moments where you go, okay, we've got this game we're playing called Cook to Cook, but actually what's most important is our lives and each other. And me looking after Bridget at that point was critical. You know, it isn't worth anybody's life to climb a mountain actually. So we turned around, started coming down, and it was a tough trip down. So we did 21 hours all the way around. That's a big day, especially when you got food poisoning. So kudos to Bridget, she totally did it. And as a guide said later to us in the hut, and he was a guide that guides on Everest, he said to us, "You girls," he said, "you climbed the mountain, but you didn't summit." And we liked that, we sort of took that. We're like, okay, thanks buddy. And there was 8 straight days of riding, and man, tell you what, hard yakka. I thought the climb was going to be hard. The constant, 100 k's basically or more each day for 8 days. Oh. I tell you, the most dangerous part in the whole expedition was actually 10 kilometres of riding north of Amberley in the pouring rain with trucks, logging trucks coming down, 100 kph in this very, very low visibility. We were in this tiny little verge. NZ Transport New Zealand bloody changed the verge size. We were forced onto State Highway 1 at that point. Everywhere else we avoided it. Headed out to the Cook Strait. We paddled through the Queen Charlotte section, which we thought, foolishly, thought would be the easy section. 6 hours of paddling against the headwind later, we were like, oh man, this was supposed to be an easy day. And that was the day before our Cook Strait crossing. So we woke up at 4:30 that morning and got the weather forecast from on board the yacht, which was our kind of support vehicle. And then we had to make yet another hard call. Out of nowhere, we had, from a good forecast, we had a forecast with rising southerlies up to gusting 35 knots. Now when you're in a sea kayak, 35 knots is crazy land. So I said, we have to take a safety call here. We need the yacht to actually take us through the very difficult rip section. There's an early section in the Brothers Islands where there's these terrible rips that run through all the time, even at neap tide. And so we made the call, because the tides were all wrong, we got the boat to take us across that section, a small section of water, and then drop us basically at the beginning, from the Brothers Islands. We then paddled across the Cook Strait. We did a big day in the water, Luke and I paddling. We paddled and we just went hard out actually for basically 4.5 hours. I think I ate one small piece of apricot chew. We were just going for it, man. Arriving into Titahi Bay, we had friends, we had families whistling and shouting, and Bridget, gents and others on the beach. And it was just awesome, just totally epic. And it was very humbling actually, because it was all very well me doing it, but I couldn't have done it without my team, without Bronwyn Ward on the bike, without Bridget climbing, without Luke paddling, and it was a really big moment of realising, whoa, we, the team, we've done this, and unbelievable, unbelievable. So it was amazing having Sport New Zealand and the Hillary Expedition Fund behind us, and also just knowing that we had the whole ethos, or if you like, the spirit of Sared in there behind us. It just made a huge difference. We wanted him to be proud of us, and I think he might have been. Yeah, I think he might have been. Any message I've got, it is actually that life is short, have big dreams and do them.